Welcome to the third module that is regarding city and communities, and in specific risk awareness, knowledge and responsibility and preparedness for the communities in risk areas. First of all, when talking about risk, one of the biggest difficulties is the lack of interaction between different fields of knowledge and integration between different disciplines. The often observed lack of common feeling could lead to acting according to more specific scientific fields like following technical and scientific competences, and or social sciences or psychologies or humanities, without any communication among them. So one of the examples of this problem is regulatory congestion and overlapping, coexisting of multiple levels of planning, and let's say plain disciplinary juxtaposition and coincidence of disciplines rather than integration. The consequence is the exclusion or underestimation of those aspects which are important and or are crucial for the solution of the problems. It becomes even more critical if it is risk in the broadest sense of the terms that constitutes the subject of the studies and analysis. The methodological approach, which should instead be adopted by those who are involved in the research and education, and which indubitably includes participation and communication techniques, consists of constructing a common practice which, by sharing knowledge, unites the physical space and the society. A multidisciplinary, systemic, and holistic approach become a necessary condition for analysis, planning, maintenance, conservation, management of a territory which is more and more subject to multi-risk, multi-hazard. And we have to get used to live with it and to live with it. Finally, the participatory, cooperative, and collaborative approach should aim at mitigation, to reduce the causes of the environmental risk, multi-risk, in which we are not certain neither of the probability nor of the intensity. It could aim also to reduce vulnerability, to mitigate, reduce the effect of the risk. Therefore, it's necessary that all the institutions, as university or educational sector or training professional sector, became promoters of training and education process that is based on awareness of the importance of the exchange of the information and the enrichment between different scientific fields. Above all, when dealing with the topic of planning in let's say environmentally vulnerable, sensitive areas. Consistently with this vision, the space has to be designed taking into account future and present risk factors, characteristics for the given context. The space needs to be designed in a way that is possible to recognize the element of the risk, the escape routes, evacuation routes, and safe places. Planning for places and territory vulnerable also means identify, understand, design dual spaces, which may potentially have a double function in emergency and in daily life of the community. Spaces which people are familiar with, which gain an identity, and which in the case of emergency are recognized by the community as a place where it can find shelter and safety. Finally, training of the designer on one hand and the education of the people on the other are the of crucial importance in participatory planning and participatory design for risk mitigation and reduction for regarding the vulnerability of people, communities, and built environment at our cities. It is a necessary condition that planners, those who are already working as well as those in training, use the systemic and multidisciplinary approach as an effective working method. The population, on the other hand, has to be correctly informed by selecting appropriate type of information and means of communication. It is not a mere distribution of information. If anything, material and non-material instruments have to be supplied in order to reduce vulnerability through the knowledge of the land, of territory, and of the risk and of the behaviors who have to be activated. As an example, we can mention to spread and to share and to make popular in such a way the civil protection plans, participation in city laboratory, which use gaming simulation, active participation in urban lab, and in general, any kind of tools that are related with increasing the involvement or participation of people. It could be also organization of thematic and topic events with the aim of involving the community and drawing their attention to the problem of risk. There is no simple recipe, a universal and simple solution, but rather a mixture of measures and strategies which help to increase the knowledge, the awareness of and responsibility of planners and communities that implies and out regarding the risk. On the other hand, communication of a civil protection plan or emergency plan, it depends where is the context, the cultural context, is crucial when it comes to its familiarity among the people, and thus its effectiveness in front of a common attitude, which is manifested by a difficulty to perceive and understand the risks present in a specific territory, specific land, the region. We can even speak about the dichotomy between the risk and its perception in everyday life. Little knowledge of the territory, its risk and its history acting in favor of a false perception of the security in urban settlements. This is the consequence of various factors of social metric, of social region. Among them, a lack of knowledge of the territorial, lack of care, that is manifested by the community. The space is reduced to the homes and the workplaces. Is a closed circuit of movements, schematic, predetermined, and repetitive in an area where everything is known and there is nothing left to discover. Adoption of civil protection plan by the communities, therefore, always has to go hand in hand with the process of its dissemination and make it popular among citizens. This is the true force of the emergency plans, as the knowledge of it makes the community aware of all possible risks that it's subjected to because of the characters of the territory where it lives. It also allows them, people and the communities to adopt in proactive way appropriate preventive measures and correct responsible behaviors when the risk arises. Therefore, by starting from the plan, we may put an end to this disconnection between the risk and its perception, strengthen the sense of cohesion among the members of the community and the feeling of belonging to a specific community. Two-way communication, because also the people in their turn are a source of continuous monitoring of the territory and testing the efficiency of the civil, of the protection plan. In other words, they are a source, they became a source of information that is needed in order to continuously update the plan. The risk is an avoidable factor because it falls outside the human capacity to control a disaster when it happens and sometimes also to predict it, like in the case of earthquakes, and we witness a lot, and we'll have some example in the further module. And it shares making cities less vulnerable is possible if the community is aware of the risk, and it shares the common goal, activating first of all the process of individual and collective, and I would say social learning, how to prevent the risk. The knowledge of the plan itself, promoted through communicative strategies which reach all people, such as city laboratories and gaming simulation, as we say, promotes and facilitates spreading the culture of self-protection among the citizens. We activated different let's say different case studies. As I said, we're going to talk about it in the next module. What is important, don't put a disruption between the communities and the knowledge of the land through emergency plan, through participation, etc. So only through this we can think that we can reach the sort of level of knowledge that is needed for the community to become part of the process of decreasing and lower the vulnerability and increase the resilience of the population and the designers and the planners itself. This is in a word is what we when we talked and put together the keywords that we were mentioning at the beginning, is the fact that awareness cannot overlook knowledge. Knowledge is a prerequisite necessary in order to analyze, develop, reason, decide, and act. It is knowledge that prior to decision-making process, which allows the planner to make conscious choices on how, where, when, why, and for whom, which factors should be included and which excluded from the process. Without the knowledge, you risk that you may discard elements which are essential for proper planning. Thank you very much.